Yeah. Hello. Hello. Good morning. We'll continue with the discussion on spread spectrum modulation techniques. In the previous three classes, we had seen what is spread spectrum technique. I mean, why do we want to spread the spectrum or increase the bandwidth of the signal, and where it finds its applications. So we had seen that it is useful to protect the signal from jammers and to reject the multipath components, that is which happens especially in case of wireless communication, and also to share a common channel in multiple access techniques, that is in particular code division multiple access, that is CDMA. So how to protect the signal to be transmitted against the jammers or the jamming signal. So a jammer is a broadband noise which transmits with high power to disrupt the communication. So basically 2 points to remember here. One is it is having a very broad bandwidth. It's a broadband noise. And one more important point is that it transmits with a very high power. So it is able to disturb the communication. And the information signal is made to copy a bandwidth occupy a bandwidth in excess of the minimum bandwidth necessary to transmit it. So basically, by spreading the spectrum, when we try to increase the bandwidth of the information signal being transmitted, we are increasing the bandwidth of the signal so that the transmitted signal looks like it takes a noisy like appearance. So it will not be disturbed by the jammer signal. The two important techniques, spread spectrum techniques, are direct sequence spread spectrum technique and frequency hop spread spectrum technique. In both the techniques, will be increasing the bandwidth of the signal, but the way that it is done is different. In case of direct sequence spread spectrum, transmission bandwidth is spread or increased instantaneously, and in case of frequency hop spread spectrum, it is spread sequentially. We'll see why this is instantaneous and why this is sequentially soon. And in case of direct sequence spread spectrum, the data sequence is multiplied with a pseudo noise sequence. We have already learned what is pseudo noise sequence, what are its properties, and in particular we have studied what is a maximum length pseudo noise sequence and the generation of maximum length pseudo noise sequence. In case of frequency of spread spectrum, the data, that is the information signal, it modulates a carrier whose frequency changes randomly. Now, let us try to understand in detail what is this direct sequence spread spectrum technique, and why do we say that the spreading happens instantaneously in this case. This can be understood in two different contexts. One is baseband modulation and bandpass modulation. Basically, baseband means we are not going to use any modulation technique. And here in case of bandpass modulation, we'll be looking at an example which uses coherent binary PSK modulation. So this is the, in general, first I'll be discussing the second one, bandpass modulation. While discussing, I'll just consider this as a particular case and we'll see what is this baseband also. Okay. First, let us look at the direct sequence spread spectrum coherent BPSK transmitter. It is binary PSK transmitter. So the binary data sequence BK, it is first converted into polar form. So this is a sequence of zeros and ones. So here we have a block which converts this data into polar form. So B of t is in polar form. That means 0 is represented by -1 volt and bit 1 is represented by +1 volt. So we have a system which does this, which is polar non-return to 0 level encoder. So B of t is just a signal which takes only two values, either -1 volt or +1 volt, depending on the uh, bits sequence, data bit sequence. And this B of t is multiplied with a PN code, pseudo noise code, that is C of t, which is generated by a PN code generator. And when we multiply B of t with C of t, let us name the resultant signal, product signal, as M of t. So M of t is B of t into C of t. This M of t is used to modulate a sinusoidal carrier using binary PSK modulation. So if I assume that the carrier is cos, then it is if the message bit is, if the message takes high value, that is if when M of t is 1, output X of t, output of modulator, should be same as a carrier, that is AC cos 2 pi FCT. And when M of t is 0, it should be minus AC cos 2 pi FCT. Why? Because it's a binary PSK modulator where the carrier phase shift is either 0 degree or 180 degree or pi radians. So that's why we have minus AC cos 2 pi FCT. So there are two steps here. One is multiplying the data sequence with the PN sequence generator, PN sequence, that is M of t. Further, M of t modulates the sinusoidal carrier to generate X of t. And this X of t will be transmitted to the channel. So before we look at the receiver, let us look at the waveforms at different stages at the transmitter. This indicates an example of a data signal. So here, this data signal has, for some duration it is +1 volt, for some duration it is -1 volt. That means in bits, as a bit sequence, it is bit 1 followed by bit 0, and TB is the duration of each bit. Next, here is a spreading code, that is pseudo noise sequence. This is basically that maximum length 7 pseudo noise sequence which we had learnt already. So you can just recall that it was 0 0. Here there are two zeros, 0 0 1 1 1, three ones, 0 0 1 1 1 0 1. I'll repeat, 0 0 1 1 1 0 1, and again it is repeating. So this is just one complete cycle of the pseudo noise sequence whose length is equal to 7. So and this every bit, every small duration, this is called as chip duration, that is represented as TC. So from one complete cycle, the duration is basically n times TC. What is n in case of maximum length 7? It should be n. So this is 7 times TC. So if you look at these two, you can see that TB is equal to 7 times TC. So n is equal to TB over TC. TB by TC is equal to n. The product of data signal and the spreading code B of t into C of t. B of t into C of t is M of t, which is plotted here. So you can see here, from here to here, from here to here, the data takes a value equal to +1 volt. So whatever comes up to this code, this signal is copied as it is. Then from here to here, this will be inverted. So wherever this is low, this is high. Wherever this is high, the product is going to be low. So we have seen the waveforms up to M of t. Next, after M of t, this M of t is used to modulate a sinusoidal carrier. Here, this is the M of t drawn once again here, and we have a sinusoidal carrier. Of course, here it was written cos, now it is represented as sine. So this is whenever whenever the message signal is equal to -1 volt, it is inverted sine, and whenever it is +1, it is non-inverted sign. So this is S of t. I mean, basically it is x of t. So this should be x of t. X of t, this is the signal which is being transmitted now. Now let us look at the receiver. At the receiver, we'll be just reversing all the steps. So at the transmitter, first step was to multiply with the PN sequence, and second step was to modulate. So now at the receiver, when we just reverse all this, first we had to demodulate, and then we had to multiply with the PN sequence. So this is the block diagram of the direct sequence spread spectrum coherent PSK receiver. So as I said, first we have a demodulator, that is a coherent detector, which is coherent DPSK receiver. Coherent DPSK receiver. So received signal Y of t. To start with, let us assume that Y of t is same as X of t. Then this will be X of t. This is given to a coherent detector. So what should be the local carrier? Locally generated carrier should be exactly in synchronism, both frequency and phase synchronism with the carrier used at the transmitter. So, and followed by a low pass filter. First, finally, we have what is the signal at this point. If this is exactly x of t, what that means the signal which is transmitted, this has to be m of t. M of t, right? So here we have just started reversing. Now we are at this step, M of t. So this is M of t. Next step, M of t will be multiplied with a locally generated PN sequence, and the output is basically the data, that is B of t here. So B of t. Then further we know that we'll be using correlator receiver followed by a decision device detector. This we had discussed already. And this will take a decision like what was the signal, what was the bit that was transmitted. So it is equal to 1 if this V is greater than 0, equal to 0 if V less than 0. You can just refer to the BPSK transmitter and receiver block diagram to understand this. Now, in this diagram, we have put both transmitter and receiver together. So the data signal, and one more point here is, here it is always possible to exchange the position of modulator and the multiplier, because modulator and this multiplier, which will not disturb the flow. So here first it is modulation and followed by a multiplier. Similarly, at the receiver, first multiply with the PN sequence, then demodulator. So Y of data signal is used to modulate a sinusoidal carrier using binary PSK modulation, and the product S of t is multiplied with a PN sequence which generates X of t. X of t will be transmitted through the channel, and to this X of t, now we'll assume that when it is transmitted over the channel, the jammer signal is added to that, that is represented as J of t, and output Y of t, that is the receiver input, which once again is multiplied with the locally generated PN sequence. After that, the output is U of t, which is given for demodulation. So let us look at these in the equation analytically. So we are here. Y of t, let's assume that it is x of t plus j of t, because earlier we assumed that x of this is exactly same as x of t. Now we'll assume that y of t is x of t plus the jammer signal. So y of t is x of t plus j of t, and y of t is equal to, what is x of t? Product of s of t and c of t, correct, plus j of t. And here u of t is product of y of t and c of t. U of t is product of y of t and c of t. So u of t is c of t multiplied by, what is y of t? S of t into c of t plus j of t. So u of t is finally given here. Now you can note this has c of t multiplied by c of t, which is c square of t. So u of t is c square of t into s of t plus c of t into j of t. and C square of t is always equal to 1. That means for all t. Why? Because this is an example of a PN sequence generator which takes only -1 or +1 voltage levels. So naturally C square of t is always equal to 1. So we have U of t is equal to just S of t because C square of t is 1 plus C of t into J of t. And what you can observe from this equation is that this U of t is just sum of the modulated signal S of t and C of t multiplied with the jamming signal J of t. So it is possible to separate this because they are additive in nature, and U of t, if it is given for a demodulation, so we can easily get an estimate of the data signal that is transmitted. So it's an estimate of B of t. So what is important to note here is that the property that C square of t is equal to 1 makes this U of t like like U of t will have two terms which can easily be separated. So now this C of t interference with only the jammer, not with the desired modulated signal.